Hey everybody, welcome to the first Classic Old School Gaming podcast. I'm Carl, the Classic Old School Gamer, and returning to do this podcast with me is Christian.
Howdy.
You might remember him from the Doom Christmas episode of Classic Old School Gaming. And this podcast, we're also staying in the realm of id Software by talking about their breakout game, Wolfenstein 3D. Which actually back then they were Apogee, if I recall.
It was published by Apogee.
Published by Apogee, okay. So we're doing this audio-only podcast, mostly due to time restraints. I have every intention of doing a Wolfenstein 3D in a video blog, but Christian informed me that today is Wolfenstein's, what, 20th?
20th
anniversary. So had to release something, so an impromptu guerrilla podcast I think could be cranked out a little bit quicker than a full-fledged video review. But have no fear, I will eventually do a Wolfenstein 3D video.
And I look forward to that one.
All right. But for right now, Christian and I are just going to sort of talk off the cuff about the game. Well, not really totally off the cuff. I have an outline here that we might reference. I don't know.
Maybe. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. But, all right. So, let's start from the beginning. Why don't we, getting the game. Now, where did you get this? Where did you find, what was it, on the BBS? Did your dad get it first? For you? Or for...
It was, my dad had a BBS, and games would kind of just pop up on there. People uploaded things, downloaded things. It was the internet before the internet, really. Right. And we used to get all these games on it. We downloaded them with bucket loads, and it was all shareware. And one day, I just happened to be scanning the later games that had come out, and there was one called Wolf 3D. I had really no idea what it was. Wolf 3D. The 3D sounded cool. It was 1992.
Yeah, you don't get any screenshots, or any sort of demos like. And that was one cool thing about back then was like shareware is you got like whole chunks of entire games you just play for as long as you want. There was no time trial like you can play it for this number of hours and all the stuff's unlocked. It's like no, here's all of episode 1, play it, give it away.
Yeah, in some cases it was half of the full game.
Yeah,
it was quite a bit. But that game showed up and we downloaded it.
Excuse me.
We installed it. And it didn't run. My father would probably know better than I would what we needed to do, but I believe he ended up buying a new processor for this computer, which the computer, it's a legendary item for the two of us. We played so many games off of it. Yeah. And there is a picture of it, I believe, in your very first episode.
Yes, yeah, there's a little segment there of me and you're off on the side. I think I cut you out because I didn't ask if I could put you in there at the time, so I just cropped it on me. But yeah, there's a little snippet of me actually playing Wolfenstein 3D, which I was going to use the entire thing with you in it in my full Wolfenstein video 3D video blog.
Yeah, so
we had to buy a whole new. Because I remember like we wanted to try it. And he said he couldn't get it working.
No.
And I actually had, now granted, this is going back 20 years, so I know my memory's a little bit fuzzy, but I almost pretty much forgot about it. I remember you mentioned this game, Wolf 3D. I don't know if it got any sort of fanfare or what people were talking about on the BBS, but something you guys wanted to get working but couldn't.
Yeah, so we eventually got it whatever we needed. I think it was a processor. And booted that game up. And as soon as I started, I'm like, okay, this is different. There's no character on the screen or anything. It was just a hand with a gun and a door. So opened that door, and that's pretty much the beginning of first-person shooter history. I remember running down that first hall, and the funny thing was. And we kind of spoke about this before. You open into the first big room, and you kind of already have an idea what the guys look like by their color scheme. And for whatever reason, the plants are kind of from a distance look like them. So here I am shooting at these plants and nothing's happening.
Yeah, because like the guards, they have the gray shirts and like the gray pants, but those blue colored boots, and shoved in the corner of every other room is these shrubs or something that have in a blue vase, and they're the same brown color. So it tricks you into thinking it's an enemy, probably just to make you waste your ammo. The game designers are more like, oh, this will piss off these gamers. No, they wasted some bullets on this.
Yeah. So after I got past that point, and I think, from then on, that game, I think, dominated that computer for, like, years.
Yeah, and I remember you told me I had to come up and play it. So, the first time I saw it, I couldn't believe it. Like, remember, like, 3D first-person... that wasn't around back then. Everything was platforming, pretty much. Platforming or maze. Any sort of first person was, chunks at a time. Type in, go north, and you'd move to the next block. So it wasn't really real time going through the maze. So looking at it through the eyes of the protagonist was revolutionary, and just walking through those hallways was just amazing. I couldn't believe it. And then other stuff like there was no rating system really back then for gaming, so there was a little more shock value, especially on as far as PC went. Like Nintendo and Sega, they tried to keep it more, kid friendly. Probably because they were selling it to kids, they didn't want parents to get angry and not buy them and stuff. But PC was a little more free reign. So when I shot that first guard and like there's blood all over the ground, I was like, oh wow, blood in a game. This is the best game ever. And it was pretty gratuitous if you think about it, man. It was not realistic at all, bleeding that much and being like that bright red and everything. But it was just like, wow, I can't believe I shot that guy and he actually bled. Because, back then you shoot somebody and you just like either they would just fall over in other games, or be like a little spark like looking flash, and it really wouldn't be blood. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm once again a little under the weather. I think it's a recurring thing. It's every time I want to make some sort of podcast or video or something, I get sick.
We'll get through it.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah, that shareware. I wanted to say demo. It's back then it wasn't a demo,
right?
That shareware game was actually the first one that I ended up getting the full retail version of, because that computer was just full of games, just packed. But there was all shareware. It was all the first episode or the first 3 levels or whatever it was, and that one I actually got for Christmas that year. And it actually arrived on Christmas Eve. My parents were pretty worried, I think, that it wasn't going to arrive on time. But it did. It came. I actually remember vaguely. I think it arrived on Christmas Eve. It wasn't even the 23rd. It was Christmas Eve. And I think we were getting ready to go to my great-grandmother's for dinner. And the UPS guy showed up at the door. And, at the time, what did I care, But
right.
I think that's when it arrived. And my sister got a game, too, that year. It was like, I don't know, some math or word game. It was also made by Apogee. But the Wolfenstein was there, and it was that was an awesome Christmas, because I'm not sure if I asked for it or not. I think they were like, oh, he really likes it. So
yeah.
I ended up getting it. That was a great surprise.
Nice, yeah. And it's good for me, too, because I got to play it.
Sure.
And it's... and each mission was, the next one was just better than the one before it. Although, I did want to talk about this a little later on, but I thought the first 3 episodes were the best ones, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. There's some neat stuff in 4, 5, and 6, but the first 3 seem to have the most, most direction, or
the stories seem to be fleshed out a little bit better in those, and they seem a little more unique for the 3 nocturnal missions, which is episodes 4, 5, and 6. I don't want to say they're rehashing, but it was nothing really that new.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, nowadays you go through a game and there's, like 20 levels. That game had 60 levels.
Yeah,
6 episodes, 10 in each. It was actually 9. The 10th one was a secret level you didn't have to go through, but 60 levels is a lot.
Yeah.
And they weren't small either.
Yeah, they were good size, and the puzzles were also just they were tough. They made you think. They really made you think. But and that's a credit to the game designers, I believe, which I thought was really, really cool. Like I remember that what was it, that complete Wolfenstein 3D guide you had?
Yeah.
That had, besides telling you how to get through the game, it also had all these little like odds and ends, tidbits about all the programmers and designers there. John Romero,
John Carmack.
Was American McGee there on that at the time?
No, he didn't come on until I think Doom 2. There was Adrian Carmack, who was not related to John.
Yes, non-brotherness.
Non-brotherness. There's Tom Hall. Oh, God. And you know what? The other ones escaped me. There was only, I think, 5 or 6, but yeah, I mean, for a small group like that, to make that game, which you look at it today, and I guess a younger person would say, "Oh, it doesn't look that hard." I mean,
it's like I could crank that out in a weekend.
It's one level. There's no shading or anything.
Everything's all in blocks.
Yeah, but back then that was it seemed like a huge undertaking, and I guess when you think about it, most games back then were made by groups of that size,
small teams. Yeah, the market was totally different, and now PC games are all. It's the same production value of like movies almost.
Yeah.
That much work goes into it to make these epic movie-like video games. Where back then it was, 5 guys, in a basement, basically, or small little office space that they rented out, make a game and hope like a couple hundred people buy it, so you can pay your rent. And this one just did it right. And it took off. But the little odds and ends, like the little trivia stuff that was in the book, because all growing up, I wanted to be a game designer. That was my dream.
Yeah, so did I.
Was being a game designer, and that manuals and reading about how much fun it sounded like to be a game designer. Obviously, they don't put in all this the hard work that they put in, like staying in the office probably till like 3 or 4 in the morning, and just coming back at 7 the next day, just programming. Plus, I didn't know how difficult programming was until I got to college. But the actual designing aspect of it is like reading that is what made me really want to be a game designer, because I'm like, this sounds like so much fun, and all these guys just hanging out, having a good time, designing games and coming up with stuff. Yeah, it's how I spent a good chunk of my growing up was just designing these games that.
Oh God, we made notebooks full of game designs.
Yeah, actually,
tons of them.
Yeah, it's so much involved, but it's a whole other topic for another time. Yeah. Actually, I brought it with me just to show off a couple of things that I made, and I'll scan these and show you people as well. But let me just find them here. Because I want, looking back, since I made all this stuff as a kid, basically there was nothing really original. It was all just pretty much sequels and just adding on to the game to make the game. All the things I think the game should have had to make it better, which were probably due to limitations of hardware or just time, or there's whatever. Obviously, they want to make the game as best they could. But I would draw, like, these entire levels.
Oh, yeah.
And they seemed neat at the time. This one was... What is this for? Yeah, but I look at these. This one I think is for Hitler's super tank stage. That was a button. But there's, like, look at this. Like, Mutant Hitler.
Mutant Hitler.
He got 4 arms with a chain gun holding a chain gun on each arm, which actually I think that's pretty good drawing for like however old I was.
Yeah, it's better than I could draw it today.
But it's like I can put like the stats, you know, like it takes 4,500 bullets to kill him. And you know, I even put like the quotes he says when you meet him. Like when you meet him, he's like, and he's dying. It's like, and he gets the death cam. And you know, I was thinking about this actually at work today because I didn't have intent, didn't want to show you this, but I'm thinking like, how did Hitler come back in the story of Wolfenstein 3D? Because remember, like, he melted.
He pretty much melted. Yeah,
at the end of episode 3. So yeah. This drawing would not be really that accurate unless they figure out some way to ungooify his body.
Yeah, they put him in a freezer or something.
Yeah. There's like the mad scientist dude I came up with, Dr. Levenmacher, which I guess would be German for life maker, at least according to a German dictionary. I just looked up the two words because as life maker he makes he's pretty much Dr. Schaub's next dude in line.
Yeah, but he's Schaubsish.
Yeah, but instead of just chucking the hypos at you, he puts them in a shotgun and shoots them at you.
You should give yourself more credit. Some of these ideas are really good.
And I've actually drawn, like, here's like Dr. Levenmacher's like stage. It's basically a gigantic maze, and each one of these triangles represent like a bullet packs, and each one of those represented med packs. So you got like tons of that shit throughout this entire level because I intended for these dudes to be really, really tough.
Yeah, this is definitely a step up on the challenge.
Yeah, and even there's like a ghost. I put one of the ghosts in the level, for God's sakes.
Oh yeah, if you've never played Wolfenstein 3D, I had mentioned before the 10th level of each episode was a secret level, and they tended to be a little more challenging, or they took a little more liberties and just making the place a little bit wackier. One of them is an actual recreation of the Pac-Man map, complete with the ghosts.
Yes.
You can't kill them. They just chase you.
They chase for, and it doesn't even give any power pellets or anything like that to help you out along the way.
You just run.
Yeah. Is there any other dudes I want to show before we move on? Yeah.
Okay.
This guy I modeled after that, he was actually a complete rip-off of that dude from Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's the guy that, like, Indiana Jones fights and gets chopped by the plane, basically.
Oh, hey, yeah.
Yeah, totally ripped him off.
What I love, and the actual game is like this too, but he's holding not one but 2 chain guns, which usually is like, you know, on the top of a truck or a tank.
Yeah, or a helicopter. Like Schwarzenegger, when he used it in Terminator 2, he had a 2-handed, and same with Jesse the Body Ventura in Predator had to hold the chain. Look at this guy. Like I laugh at myself as a kid for making these things. I'm like, my God, it's like he's holding chain guns inside of chain guns. Yo, dog, I heard you like chain guns, so I put some chain guns inside your chain guns. On top of that chain gun, there's another barrel that rotates. Revolves on that has like grenades, missile launchers, and a flamethrower. And
he's got 2 little chain guns on his hat.
And he's got guns inside his boots.
I love it.
Like, look at this guy. Like, oh my!
He would be able to just mow down a forest in about 6 seconds.
Well, I don't know. Well, it's possible if he could stand up, because as soon as he shot the first thing, he would knock himself over. And just so like he would keep his name, I put little 2 like crosshair things on top there for him. Look at that. Man.
That is great.
Obviously, I was not a very good colorer back then.
And when he runs out of ammo, he has a pistol.
Yep, just in case. Just in case. Well, check out this level. This level is... What is this for? Right? I don't know, but it gives you the big old... In the treasure, go in this door. And this door, you go in that door, and it's like a whole bunch of enemies, because each one of those letters is like an enemy. You know, it's Schutzstaffel, officers, dogs, and yeah. Fake Hitlers.
Oh, fake Hitlers.
Yeah.
I forgot about the fake Hitlers. Yeah.
Anybody else I want to show?
They appear in episode 3.
Ah, yes. The post-dictator, Adolf Hitler. Now, there's actually a little bit of a, well, I don't want to say like a backstory, but Hitler was like, I think that was the name that Nostradamus dropped as the third Antichrist or something, or the second Antichrist. Yeah. And everybody says like, oh, that means it was Hitler. So I'm like, here's actual Hitler, his actual name. And this guy, once again, totally modeled after an Indiana Jones character. I stole his look from the dude that Indiana Jones fights in The Last Crusade, like that main bad German guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. What does he hold? Those are cannons he's holding. those are cannons. Yeah. Well, cannons, missile launcher, grenades, and flamethrowers.
Nice.
Man, I don't believe this. And he fakes his own death, kind of like in Rise of the Triad for a second.
Rise of the Triad. Yeah. That's a different topic if it ever comes up.
Yeah.
But actually, Rise of the Triad, a little fun fact.
Yep.
That Rise of the Triad was actually originally meant to be Wolfenstein 2. I believe it was Tom Hall had left id and he started working with at Apogee or something, and he was working on that game, but they couldn't call it Wolfenstein 2. I could be wrong. Maybe it wasn't Tom Hall, but Apogee tried to work on it, and I don't know if it was a legal spat or what, but it ended up not happening, so we got Rise of the Triad out of it, which is why some of it seems similar.
Yeah. Like the way the dudes look, like with the trench coats and everything, it's very German World War II-ish looking, and the castle motif and everything, so... So, let's talk about some other aspects of it, like the graphic style. We'll talk about. There's something about those early PC games from like the 90s that they had a very unique look to them. Like, I don't know what it was, but the shading and the roundness to them, like there was something. I don't know if it was just because like monitors were higher resolution and they had to make them a little more shaded looking, but like that game, you know, the Commander Keens, Solar Winds, you know, they all had that kind of, I don't know how to describe it. It just they had their own look.
Yeah,
that you didn't see on console games on like Nintendo or Sega.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it was. It could have been just the PCs typically were more powerful than
that. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Your Nintendos and your Genesis system, so there was more color typically. You had more colors
to play with. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure what it was, but yeah, typically, I remember when Wolfenstein came out on Super Nintendo. I think it was. We'll talk about the ports. But,
yeah.
But I remember looking at it and just being like, wow, it's Wolfenstein, but it doesn't look as good.
Yeah.
On a console that, came out, I think maybe after Wolfenstein was released. I mean, maybe not.
Wolfenstein came out, what? 1992, and that's, I think, the same year that the Super Nintendo came out.
Okay, yeah.
Was it 91?
It might have been 91, but...
It might have been 91 in Japan, and it might have been 92 over here. They were pretty close.
It was pretty close.
Within a year or two.
But it was amazing how it couldn't really keep up to the PC game in terms of just the look of it. It just...
Yeah, it's bad. It's horribly pixelated. It just looks bad.
Yeah.
Particularly the Super Nintendo version, actually. And man, they just killed that thing. I just can't believe.
Yeah,
They took out all the blood. They took out the dogs.
Were replaced with giant rats.
Yeah. And that doesn't make any sense. I know they didn't like the fact that they were shooting dogs because it's like animal cruelty, but even like the guys from it said, it's like it's all right to shoot people in the game, but you can't shoot dogs. And all right, giant rats, well, those are animals too.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of people have pet rats.
I hear they're a very nice pet to have.
So it's like that doesn't make any sense. But they got him back by releasing the source code to a wisdom tree, I think it was, to make that Super Noah's Ark.
Oh my god! That was an abomination.
Noah had to go around shoot food had goats.
Like goats, yeah.
And the goats would kick him. And that's how he would get damaged.
Yeah.
Ugh.
That's pretty horrible.
Yeah. Actually, going back to the powerful the strength of the PC versus the Super Nintendo. I mean, you look at, and even the 3D aspect of gaming, first person shooters, so to speak. There was sort of some first person shooter in the Super Nintendo game Jurassic Park. When you went inside the buildings, you looked at it through almost looked like a pair of goggles. You didn't get the whole screen.
Oh.
It was super low res. It was horrible refresh like frame rate. It was almost unplayable. And that was the Super Nintendo. And then I think that game was like 93 or 94 even, because I think the movie came out in 93, I want to say.
Wow, it's been that long.
Yeah. But there was a couple ports, and I don't remember what systems they were for, but I saw some screenshots, and they touched up some things like BJ's face looked different. Yeah. And they brought in some different bosses, like that super mutant or whatever with the 4 arms.
Yeah, they did.
Which was he in Spear of Destiny?
Yeah, the Uber Mutant was in Spear of Destiny.
For those who don't know, Spear of Destiny was the sequel to Wolfenstein 3D.
Yes.
I guess the Nazis got the spear that stabbed Jesus on the cross, and that's the story in the end. And William J. BJ Blazkowicz had to go get it back.
And, he's BJ, so you knew he was going to do it.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the one you're talking about, though, with the kind of different looking face for BJ and the graphics were touched up a bit.
Yeah.
The first time I remember seeing that, I think it was the Macintosh port.
Okay, I was going to say.
Yeah. But then there was another one for the Atari Jaguar, I believe.
Oh, the 64-bit system?
Yeah, yeah, the 32 plus 32 equals 64. Yeah, they had one as well. And I remember kind of being jealous of that one because it did look cool.
Yeah.
I think it might have had a flamethrower.
Oh, yeah, I think it did.
Yeah.
Which I never actually saw in action. I could probably just YouTube it now and see what it looks like, but I never really thought about it until you mentioned it right now. Yeah, that's right. It got a flamethrower. Not bad.
Yeah. I never did actually play it, but yeah, there were a number of ports throughout the years. Even more recently, they came out with one for the iPhone, and I love my iPhone, but that game is unplayable. It's just unplayable. There's no buttons. Like, I get it. The iPhone's great. It's powerful, and you can do some neat stuff with it, but you can't take a classic game like that and just throw buttons on the screen. It doesn't work. No. I had a hard time controlling it, and I don't know. It was neat. It had every level in it. You could basically skip to anyone you wanted. They, for whatever reason, touched up the weapons, not the rest of the graphics. Everybody looked the same. But your guns are a lot more detailed.
Do they sound the same, or?
Yeah.
That's weird.
It was weird. If I recall, the first release of it, they were the original weapons, and then a patch came out. Like, we updated the weapons, and they were all updated, but I don't know, it didn't really help the game.
Yeah.
And then they also released it was a Wolfenstein RPG, which I think was maybe the better way to go for a mobile phone game. You basically made a move, and your enemy would make a move as well, but you kind of moved through. It looked sort of like Wolfenstein. It was pretty fun. There was a Doom RPG as well.
Right, I remember that one.
Yeah, they made a Wolfenstein one as well. So, I don't know, it's carried throughout the years in various ports and remakes, I guess, but the original one still, I think, it still stands up. It still holds up. The gameplay is simplistic. I was thinking about this the other day. I've played some old PlayStation 1 games that I loved, and I dusted a few off not too long ago, and I started playing them, and they just don't hold up as well. The graphics, the early 3D polygon stuff on the PlayStation looked pretty rough nowadays, and couldn't really tell what was going on. The control was kind of kludgy, but you sit down and you play Wolfenstein, and it feels just as good as it did back then, and the the gameplay is so basic. I mean, you just, you're killing enemies. You collect treasure to, get points, and you maybe get a key to unlock a door, and all you're really trying to do is get to the elevator to the next level.
Right.
And, that core gameplay still kind of exists today. They just wrap a whole bunch of other crap around it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you're doing the same thing, and it holds up, and it's still fun. It's
another one of those games that I typically play through like once a year. It's good. It's fun. It's timeless. In my opinion, it's timeless. I could play it over and over again. And I don't know, like even for as simple as it was and how old it is, I think it just, I'm trying to think how to put this, but the game just had really good atmosphere to it.
Yeah,
like it pulled off. It pulled off what it wanted to convey really well. When you're going through the dungeons, like the lower areas, they just used the right sort of. They made everything look good, and they used the right props and sprites and everything, and just made it look good. And then the music was really, really good in it too. Yeah, like I said, you're going through like the dungeons, so they have like a lot of empty cells. They actually put the effort into put empty cells. Or they'll have those cells like with the skeleton, holding onto the bar. There'll be a pile of skulls, a pile of blood, and everything like that on the ground. And then you get like some of the upper floors where it's nice and shiny, and there's like mosaics and suits of armor and really expensive stuff. So it was, you felt like you were in a castle and the different levels of it. So I thought that was pretty cool. Excuse me. And the music is, it's really, really good music. The music is really good. Like even from like the opening theme, it's just very, very memorable. And when I hear that theme, it's right there. I just hear that takes me back. It's like back to when we were like kids and everything. Even the menu music, that it's just like oh, this is Wolfenstein. All right.
Yeah, one of the songs actually has Morse code in it.
Yes, yes, it is. Like the name escapes me right now, but
yeah, me too.
My favorite music in that game was called Suspense, and I'm just like having it on my phone here. I queued it up. I'll play the actual one over this podcast, but bear with me right here. Where is it? Pretty sure I got it. Did I not download it? I must have lied to you. Sure, I have all these other ones that were really good, except my favorite one, Suspense. Though you hear it right now because I put it over this podcast. We don't hear it, but you're hearing it right now.
It's beautiful.
And even, I don't want to call it throwaway music, but if you went to the read this, I think it said, which gave you sort of like a very quick backstory and a whole bunch of ordering information.
Yeah.
But even that's it's called Around the Corner, and it was like really, really, really creepy sounding. Very,
yeah.
Just give you that very sense of like emptiness, eeriness, being quiet, sneaky.
And there's it's just enough kind of military in there too with the drums there.
That snare.
Yeah. Kept a theme.
And some of them were really, really good for and the names like match them, like Lurking. it's a good song for, you know, as you're going through the halls. You know, it's not quite as, it's not really creepy like Suspense, but it's not adrenaline rushing like some other songs. It's just a good, you know, you got a job to do. Then you got ones like, what else do I have here? Like Get Them. It seems like some of the Doomish sort of, even though it came out before, like it's more like should be a Doom game. And
yeah.
But same composers, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
That's what I got. Did we do searching already?
Yeah, I think we did. Okay.
Of course, we have Ultimate Conquest.
Oh, yeah.
Which was really, you know, the first time you hear this is when you're against Hitler.
It's against Hitler. Yeah.
Because the other two, you get that patriotic war march. That's sort of Yankee Doodle type.
Kind of leads it on. Like, you can do it.
Yeah.
This one is, you know something's going down.
Yeah, you get to level 9, it's like, uh-oh. This is a lot more sinister sounding than the other two bosses, which were this one, the, excuse me. Yeah. A little bit happier, but also sort of that awe-inspiring, like, yay, America. So yeah, I thought the music was cool, and I thought it was really neat that, what was it, you held down in when you started the game, you had the little jukebox there, where you could play like 5 of the songs.
Yeah, that's right,
So sort of an Easter egg built into the game.
Yeah, and there were a few in that game. MLI code, your health and ammo. And
Wasn't there a key combination that said something like, hey, you're trying to cheat? It was a key combination from a previous game of theirs? Or am I thinking of...
Maybe.
I thought there was...
Maybe. I remember, not in Wolfenstein 3D, but in Spirit of Destiny, if you hit F1 in Wolfenstein 3D, it took you to the help menu like most games did, most programs did. Mm-hmm. But if you hit F1 in Spirit of Destiny, it was the boss key, and it dropped you to... like a DOS prompt. So I guess if you were playing it at work, you hit the boss key, and then as your boss is walking by, you've just got this little, like, blinking cursor. I think it seemed like you were actually working, although I guess if you had a blank screen, you wouldn't really be working anyway, but I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, there were a couple of key combinations. I know MLI was the one that I used the most, but there was one or two others that gave you some kind of results.
And I remember if you use the parameter was goobers, you could get into the debug mode. You could change the border color and do some other stuff. Make yourself invincible with other sort of tags. But yeah, MLI was obviously the one you used the most because you had all the keys, you had a whole shitload of ammo, but at the cost of your points. But nobody cared about points anyway back then.
No, it's true. Yeah, there's no real like achievements there.
Yeah, it was very, very rare I actually cared about the points. So let's talk about the levels. What were some of your favorite levels? Because I know I have a couple of them that stick out in my mind.
It almost would sound a little bit like a cop-out because I played them the most, but I think it's because I played them the most. The first episode to me has a lot of my favorites, and then from then it's I think it was episode 4, the boss level in episode 4.
With Otto?
Yeah. For some reason, if it's the level I'm thinking of, I like that one. I recall the boss level in episode 6. was insane.
That was pretty tough. That was, it was almost like it was split up into two different areas. Like, is that the one where you could like go two different paths?
Yeah,
they kind of both led in the area.
They kind of eventually met up. But,
yeah, then you go through the little rock maze, sort of.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah,
yeah. That was one of my favorites. But no, I would have to say I would always go back to the first episode. It's the escape episode. It's the episode where you break out of the jail and you work your way to the top of the castle and you kill Hans, and then you run out the door and you jump in the air and cheer. And that, I don't know, that episode just for me is special. And
I thought the level design was very clever. I mean, even some levels where the entire level was a giant swastika, or there was one level that was made up of a whole bunch of swastikas just joined together, which was really annoying because they were all small little swastikas and every room was really small. The boss levels obviously were all very memorable. There was one level that manual. I remember it said it was mentioning a contest, see if you could find something odd that doesn't belong in the game.
Ooh.
And we know now it's from that gigantic maze. I can't remember what episode or level it's in, but it's a whole bunch of secret push walls that there's, I guess, only one way to get in, and once you get in, you're stuck.
Yeah.
But you get that sprite that says, call Apogee, 1-800-Apogee, say Aardwolf. But they canceled that contest because once the level editors, the hacks came out,
they found the sprite, basically.
They found
the
sprite.
Texture. They patched that game after I got it, and if you find that point, it's just like a pool of blood or something.
Oh yeah, which is kind of disheartening. You go through all that crap, and that was also the level that had what was it, Fonz, Pons, and Mons Gross?
That's right. There were more brothers. Yeah. There was Hans and there was Gretel, or was it Greta?
Or something? Yeah, it was Gretel.
Yeah.
Hans and Gretel Gross.
Yeah, but that's right. There were some brothers.
Yeah, there was 3 Hans bosses hidden in that maze, and they were given names like Fonz, Pons, and Mons or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. That's right.
But but going back to that where the manual said to find see if you can find something that doesn't belong there. I remember there's one level where you go through most of it, and then there's an area where it's like a long hallway, and there's like 2 or 3 like random dead bodies in it. And I thought for the longest time that's what they were talking about, because I'm like, why are these bodies here? Surely there must be something odd about this, because they wouldn't just put dead bodies here. It's a creepy area. But obviously that was not the case. As far as episodes go, I gotta say my favorite episode was probably episode 2.
Oh, the mutants.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the main reasons. Well, first of all, the whole level the whole episode, not the whole episode, but it just has a really grimy, gross feeling to it.
Yeah. And
it really makes you uncomfortable. From that first level with the moss-covered stone walls.
The walls were like purple, though.
Yeah.
Rock is weird.
It just really unsettling, and it fit the whole mad scientist who was too nuts to give a crap about, anything, any sort of cleanliness and everything. And the mutants are still one of the scariest enemies to this day. Like, they're one of the few enemies in video games that still make me jump when I'm playing it because they're silent.
Yeah, they don't make any noise.
You're just going through, and all of a sudden, you hear a crack of a gunfire, and your screen goes red. It's like, oh shit! And by the time you turn around, they have another bullet in you, and all of a sudden you're down to like a quarter of your health left.
Yeah, and then some of those levels, like you had mentioned, had vines hanging down, and you'd be running through that stuff. And you just run into one of them.
Yeah.
Because you can't see it. And basically, you really can't see anything in front of you. They were textures that basically blocked your entire view. So you go running through, and all of a sudden you bump into one, and he's already shooting at you. It's
and those mines were like green, and the mutants' clothes were that pukey colored green, so they blended right in. It was really tough, and they could see you perfectly. So they would be shooting at you from either distance, and like, so either you got that warning, it's like, crap, somebody's shooting at me, but you had no idea where they're coming from, or you didn't see until the last second, and they're right on top of you, and they shoot you and hit you with those cleavers.
Oh yes, right. Yeah, it's a good point. They are probably one of the creepier enemies, because, like you said, you don't even know they're there.
Yeah, and they're not human either, which is, they don't look that human with their gray skin, so it adds to the creepiness factor. But they're very clever where they put them. They plant so many of them not in plain sight. They'll put them in little crevices where you walk into an open room, and they're in a crevice right just off to the hallway you came out of, so they're already behind you, you don't hear them, and you get shot. And it's like, ooh, damn you. That so sucks, but at the same time, it's so smart.
Yeah.
So, it just, that type of stuff, I'm getting scared is fun, so.
Sure. Yeah.
And the boss, Dr. Shabs, I think is a great boss.
I love him.
Yeah.
It's great. Like, it's a boss who throws syringes at you.
Yeah. Syringes of goo, of his mutagen, and he has that sinister laugh when he meets you. And even when his like death quote, he's like, it's all dramatic about it. He's like, mein Gott in Himmel!
And he looks like a tumble over.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. But even his level is pretty cool, man. I have all those steel walls and everything. It's just a really neat looking level. Because while most of the level is dirty, disgusting, and grimy, this is kind of shiny and clean.
Yeah.
But he's there with his blood-soaked ad hoc surgeon outfit on, and tossing those hypos at you, which is another neat thing about him. If he kills you with those hypos, BJ's face turns gray and becomes a mutant, which is just pretty neat. Sorry.
Gives you all the more incentive to want to win that one.
Right, yeah.
Death. You don't get death. You get worse.
Some, like the other bosses, the game did have very memorable bosses.
Yeah.
Oh, telephone.
The telephone is ringing.
Telephone's ringing.
Give it a moment. Okay, we're good.
All right. We already mentioned Hans, but he was actually, like, even something as simple as that first boss was kind of a neat surprise, because you're at that level, which is pretty much nobody's in it.
Yeah.
It's just open. You run, you open the door. All of a sudden, there's this ginormous dude who says hello to you in German.
Yeah.
And then has these giant guns in each hand. He just starts unloading on you. It's like, holy shit,
Taking cover behind, taking cover.
Yeah.
Unlike the rest of the game where you're just kind of dodging. Like, you're taking cover behind these pillars, I guess. Yeah. Pillars. And you're thinking, like, am I going to have enough ammo? This guy's wearing a suit of metal armor.
Yeah. he's probably the first enemy that, he's pretty much the only enemy in the game you can't stand toe-to-toe with.
Yeah.
All the rest of the lower grunts, like, only if they came at you in great numbers do they really pose a threat. But one-on-one, you take any of them easily, even with a pistol. But, Hans, he didn't care if you're shooting with the chain gun. He still shoot at you, and depending on what difficulty level, he could probably kill you just like one of those. If you're on that, was it not ultra violence? It's bring him on.
Bring him on, and then
I am Death Incarnate.
Yes, yeah, good memory.
Yeah, okay. If you're on that level, he probably kill you with just one burst fire.
Yeah, that is. I think the first time I ever opened the door and he was standing there in front of me, he might have been with me actually. I think I jumped a mile.
Yeah.
I just wasn't expecting that. I mean, for all I knew, there wasn't a boss, and I didn't even know it was boss level.
Yeah, because we didn't know how many levels were in the game at the time.
You open the door, and this guy is the size of the door, and
yeah,
thinking like, Okay.
At least he won't fit through it. Oh crap! Here he comes.
Here he comes. Yeah.
And then we mentioned his sister Gretel, who actually is, I think, like the only. No, she's not. But she didn't have chain guns. She had these weird, like, single fire guns.
Yeah.
But still did, like, damage. But it was weird not hearing, like, the chain gun, machine gunny type sounds instead you hear the single one at a time shots. It's funny because I mean, they almost look like a pallet swap.
They almost do. Yeah, you're right. They're built pretty much the same way. It was one ugly woman.
Then we mentioned Otto Giftmacher. I can't speak German, so I hope that's how you pronounce it. He had a sort of small rocket launcher, didn't he?
He did. Yeah. Was he like the head of the officers?
Yeah,
I remember.
But some sort of leader of the of Operation Eisenfaust, which was the poison. Or no, or was it Eisenfaust? I'm mixing up. See, now I'm questioning it.
Yeah,
is that
I think
like,
it was
is it Eisenfaust?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, I want to make sure I'm not mixing up the castle names, but yeah, he was also the leader of that. The head guy for the war, or the head scientist, sort of. I don't know, along those lines.
Yeah.
The I guess general. Oh boy. I apologize to German speaking people, but Fetchget, I think something like fat face in English.
It was fat face in English, but yeah.
Fetchget. I'm not even gonna attempt it. That's the best. When I was a kid, I Italianized it. I remember I used to call him like Fishgetti, even though it clearly did not end in an I.
No. Yeah, actually, it's funny you mention that. Not that you put it in an Italian thing, but just the fact that they were all German names and the enemies are speaking German. At the time, my intention was to actually take German in high school, but our high school didn't offer it.
No.
If it did, honestly, I think I probably would have taken it, and I probably would have spent a good deal of time actually studying and learning it, because it's a neat language.
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably would have done that, and kind of breaking off topic slightly, but it also got me very interested in World War II in general.
Yeah.
I learned a lot in that period of time, just because I'm playing this game about World War II, which I knew very little about. I was like 10 at the time, and then before I know it, I'm like reading up on the battles and Hitler and all this stuff, and I mean that all carried with me. I remember even into college, I had to do a book report on a biography, and I did it on Hitler, not really because I liked him, but it was because I had to come up with something, and I happened to find the book in the school library, and I'm like, oh, Hitler, I know enough about him. So I read this book, and
I played Wolfenstein. I know who Hitler is.
Yeah, I killed that bastard.
He was a pretty neat boss also.
Yeah.
Not to derail what you just said, but sort of to bring us back to topic. But,
sure. Yeah.
First of all, his level is really cool.
Oh, great.
The fake Hitler, right as soon as he do it, it's like, oh, there's Hitler. You shoot him, and he just kind of collapses there. Well, first of all, his arms are all like some sort of creepy Jesus-looking dude. He's floating around with a flamethrower mounted on his chest, which those balls of fire move so slow.
I know. Yeah.
But yeah, you shoot him, and he just kind of falls like, It's like, ooh, you crafty one, you.
Yeah.
And then he's there in his giant metal armor. And then we learn how to say shit in German.
Yeah.
From this game with the Scheist. It's like, I cursed in front of my parents and they won't know what I'm saying.
Yeah, you fight him halfway and the armor comes off, and pretty much every other boss, you get him to a point, he falls over and that's it. But not Hitler. You only got him halfway.
Yeah. Sheds that armor. It's like, uh-oh. Now he's probably really mad.
And he was fast.
Yeah. He was one of the fastest enemies in the game, probably, I think, next to the officers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then you kill him, and he just melts into like a pool of goo.
Yeah,
inexplicably just.
I can't explain that one. Yeah, and that's effectively how B.J. Blazkowicz won World War II.
Yep. That whole thing about Hitler killing himself in Eva Braun in a bunker, totally inaccurate.
Totally inaccurate. It never happened. Hitler
melted into a pool of goo from bullets.
Yep. That's basically how it happened. I was there.
And going back to the German, speaking German, I read, and I am not fluent at all in German, so I cannot independently confirm this. Did I do that?
No.
Okay. Sorry, something came up on one of our computers. But the quotes that the Germans say are, from what I read, inaccurate.
Really?
Yeah, because the guys from Apogee, they didn't know how to speak German either. So they just kind of, I don't know, if they didn't quite do as little as just looking up words in the English to German dictionary and slopping them together, like I did on these drawings of mine. Because, I had no idea that English was the backwards language as far as how sentences are constructed. But they got their information from somewhere on how to say these things in German, but it was wrong or very simplistic. So things like "Nein, so was" isn't really how they would say "well, I never."
I didn't know that.
And that's what I read. Not fluent in German. Cannot independently verify that. But if any of you German-speaking folks listening to this can, let us know if that's accurate or not.
Yeah.
What do you, Schutzstaffel, mein Leben, it means, according to them, my life. Kein Dutchgang. I don't even remember what Gretel is saying when. And then she says, like, my pride, which is like, mein Busa, which I always thought sounded kind of dirty.
Yeah.
And, like, I think they used that on purpose, because it sort of sounds like she's saying something else. Die Allied Schweinhund, which means Die Allied Pig Dog, according to, once again, the instruction booklet. Nein, so was. Spion, I think is actually not pronounced correctly. I think that's how it's written in English, but I think in German it's spion or there's no, like, I don't know. These are just things I was reading.
Yeah.
But yeah, they yell spion in the game. It's S-P-I-O-N, but I don't think that's the way you actually pronounce it.
Yeah, well, that'll forever be burned in my mind.
Yeah.
After 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, "Nein, so was" means "well, I never" in German, and always will. Small American software companies rewriting your language, Germans.
Yeah. I don't even think this game was available in Germany.
I don't think well, if it was, they had to strip out a lot because swastikas are prohibited in that country, which is understandable.
Oh, absolutely. They're plastered all over the game.
Yeah. That and pictures of Hitler.
Yeah.
Including that one where he's like yelling right at, like, all in your face and stuff.
Yeah, what's up? He's like, yeah, Hitler, yeah. He's like screaming at you.
He's like, ah! I remember I was, I used to, go up there and say, like, I was Hitler's dentist and, like,
stab him with
the knife in the tooth, and then, shoot with the pistol, like, oh, gotta remove a few teeth there, and yeah.
Good time indeed.
Yeah, the game was a pretty big influence, obviously, on how I, on my childhood, to the point where I remember we were, me and my mom were at I was a little kid, we were at a department store, I think might have even been like Toys R Us, might have been Sugarman's or Ames, which, there were local companies around our area.
Yeah.
But there was a cap, it was a really big toy gun that actually load like caps into, and it was like in the shape of a chain gun.
That's right.
And I had to have it, and it was so expensive, but I begged and forego some other toys I wanted or something like that, or I'm like, let this be my birthday and Christmas present or something, because it was like $50 at the time, which was a lot to spend on a toy gun.
Sure.
But it was really cool because like the barrel just rotated right in there, and you load the cap. The caps went through it like a magazine of bullets or a strip of bullets, whatever the correct term is. Again, I'm not military either, so
completely forgot about that. Yeah.
So we'd use that when we were playing war out in the cemetery there.
Yeah.
Yes, Christian and I, we lived next to each other, and there's a cemetery pretty much between our houses on a hill, so we would play in that, on a hill, so it made a good good area to play in.
Sure did. Yeah.
We weren't too nuts. We weren't disrespectful or anything like that. We jumped over the tombstones, but we didn't knock any over.
Never knocked any over.
Yeah, doesn't your dad partially own that cemetery anyway or something?
He's involved. Yeah.
All right, so we had permission. We weren't trespassing or anything.
Yeah. We had some good. Yeah, we had quite a few wars in there. Yeah. I remember. I don't know if you remember this or not, but I'm sure you will. We used to sleep over each other's house all the time. But I think this came out of Wolfenstein. We used to have we'd have sheets of paper, and we'd build armies on both sides, and draw lines, and you're reaching for something now. I think you have them.
I have some.
Yeah, we'd have these battles, and you'd have basically stick figures, with guns drawn, and they'd take turns just drawing a line,
random
across,
line,
just a random line. Maybe you'll take off somebody's leg or something, but you pretty much went until one side was completely killed off. And you have one.
I do have some.
That. Wow. Yeah, there it is. Oh, they were fun. We had quite a few of these. And sure enough, here's the U.S. flag on one side, the Nazi on the other one, which is on fire.
That means you lost. Well, if your building got destroyed, that means the flag went up in flames. And of course, the White House on one side and a castle on the other side. That was the German equivalent of the White House, a castle. And you had Hitler on one side, and on the other side we had President Bill Clinton.
Wow, yeah. Look at
that. How silly is that?
Completely different eras.
He probably wasn't even alive back then. I don't know what year he was born in. But
that is great.
And where's the one? Is it?
Bill's looking pretty good here, actually. He doesn't have a scratch on him.
What color are the German soldiers on that one you have? Are they brown?
Germans look like they're brown. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Here, check this out. After America won, I drew this. It was the aftermath, and you got like a couple of obviously dead German soldiers, but here's all the surviving dudes.
They're shooting guns.
They're celebrating, and there's the ones there with them. I even drew purple hearts on them because they were wounded in battle. And there's all the tombstones for all the fallen comrades with the little American flags, which most of these tombstones here were actually modeled after actual tombstones from the cemetery that was across the street.
Yeah, I'm picking a couple out right now. Yeah, how about that?
I thought I had one.
I'm looking at this first one again. Right next to the castle, there's a pile of bones.
Oh yeah. It's well, it's funny thing with you can see there with Hitler. He has a couple lines going to him. One of them hit him in the leg. Yeah. So he's cursing Scheist or something and he got hit again, and he's Schweinhund or Schweinhund. Each time he got hit, he would yell some explicit thing.
Is that his heart on the ground?
Yeah, that's his heart got shot out.
Take that.
I thought I had one where I don't want to spend too much time looking for it because it could be anywhere. It may not even be here, but I thought I had one where. Yeah, here it is. Here's the one where super mutants showed up, and the Americans and the Nazis teamed up against the mutant army.
That's great.
That was funny. What do we have? We have because both President Bill and Hitler both got the super mecha suits. Yeah. I even got to the point over here where some dudes got like shot, like the blood like coming out, flying out there. Especially that one SS guard down here, he got it right through the neck. And then like what happened was the mutants actually started winning, and I really didn't want them to. It was totally biased. We were doing this, but I actually made like Rudolf Hess come out in like a super tank. Who was Hitler's second in command during World War II. And the tank actually got destroyed, and I didn't want Hitler or Rudolf Hess to get destroyed, so I have his like footprints of him like walking away from it. And then he shows up later, and he like shoots the last like German dude for some reason. He just random. Makes no sense now, but at the time it did.
I guess so. Oh, it was fun.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
Good times indeed.
Yeah, this is what we used to do, and yeah, I definitely believe obviously it was Wolfenstein influence. If you look at those mutants, all their blood was purple.
Yeah, that's yeah. It was like that'd be if Wolfenstein had a baby with like Warcraft, not World of Warcraft. You know, you have your armies and everything.
Yeah.
Except we did it on paper.
That's right, pen and paper.
Yeah.
Well, we're over the hour mark. Any other topics you want to hit on, or?
I guess just the legacy of it. I mean, we're 20 years later.
I was 12 when the game came out.
Yeah, I was 10, and things have evolved so much in 20 years, which doesn't seem like that long, but
no.
So much has changed. I mean, every first-person shooter really has Wolfenstein to thank, and in some ways, actually, I actually think in these modern times, Doom is kind of looked at as like the granddaddy of them all.
Yeah,
maybe because it had the most exposure. But yeah, Wolfenstein was the one that really kicked it off.
Yeah, Doom wouldn't exist without Wolfenstein.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, to this day, if you look at Killzone or Halo or anything, they're much grander in scope, and there's a lot more going on. The stories are fleshed out, and there's cutscenes and all kinds of crazy stuff. But at the end of the day, it's still you going, to the end of the level, be it going down an elevator or just completing an objective. But it's still the same basic foundation from Wolfenstein. So I think I find that amazing.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, this and besides being, having that sort of legacy, just the memories of playing are just great. Like every time I fire it up, it takes me back to, those early '90s, being in like your kitchen where your computer was, and playing it on those winter days. Just because you had your window right there, you watch like the snow falling, and I don't know, it was a good time because you were a kid and you didn't have any cares in the world. Just played video games all the time, and it was cool. It was really cool.
Yeah, I've definitely got better childhood memories of Wolfenstein than I do Doom or anything like that. And Doom was only a year or two later.
Yeah, I'll probably be doing another one of these.
Yeah.
On Doom for its 20th.
Another round of Doom.
Yeah. In addition to the Christmas episode this year as well.
That was fun.
No, I mean like part 2, like the next, like this upcoming Christmas.
We're gonna do another one.
Oh yeah. If you want to, I mean, I'm still doing it. So if you want in, okay.
I'm in.
All
Mark
right.
my calendar right now.
All right. But I think that that's a good little trip down memory lane for Wolfenstein on its 20th anniversary.
Happy 20th anniversary of Wolfenstein 3D.
Yes, indeed. So, everybody, this is Christian, and I am Carl, the classic old school gamer, signing off. See you later.
See you.